The Pueblo Star-Journal presents State of Art. State of Art is a production of the Voices of Pueblo podcast. This episode, a conversation with artist creative producer James Beck, was produced and narrated by Bree Pappan.
Happy Friday, Pueblo. This is the State of Art for June 2026. My name is Bree Anne Pappan, and I am really excited to welcome back. My guest in the studio today is James Beck.
Hello, James Beck here.
James, you are an artist, multimedia artist, film producer, writer, director, a person of many talents. And on the advice of another artist, I sought you out because I wanted to really, I had gotten this article from David Hayden, who is a well-known photographer in Pueblo. He's published many books. He's a commercial photographer. He's also an art photographer, but he really leans towards commercial work. He had written an op-ed piece for the Star-Journal, and he submitted it, and we put it in unison with State of Art. I was like, I really want to find out from artists what their take on it. I was not surprised about the result because I understand the uniqueness and the creative process of making art and how that is completely separate from the modem of AI. And so upon her advice, I contacted you, and I did not realize how much research and attention you had put into AI in terms of how it affects artists and how it can be a pro and a con. Artificial intelligence, which is AI, has come into our lives. It's shown up, bled in from so many aspects. I use personally, just for myself, I use AI to help me with writing, to help me create workflows and organize my thoughts. I'm able to put in lots of notes that I've taken for certain, if I'm creating a story, if I've had interviews, or if I have first person conversations, I can put those into AI and it helps me organize it. But at the same time, it's helping me collect my thoughts. It's not exactly writing it for me, but it's unless I ask it to, and that's the weird. And then it also is a great research tool.
Yeah.
That I use in my day job, helping me understand about market value for certain items, popularity, what the market is for art, or what the market is for textiles, or what the market is for antiquities, which is my day job. So I thought it was really interesting. And the one quote that you said that it really resonates is that we must remember that AI is operated by someone.
Yeah, it's a tool. It's not AI is a tool. It's the same as a microwave putting food in. It cooks the food for you, but you still had to prepare the things to put it in, just as, when we're talking about AI being the thing that's like taking these things away, it's AI itself is not the reason these things are happening. Capitalism and the function of AI within capitalism is the reason these things are happening, because it's companies wanting to cut corners, wanting to pay less, wanting to not really appreciate and have like a moral direction for how they get their product, how they get the work done. It's the fact that they want to get it done the fastest with the least amount of resources and saving the most money. And so that's usually one thing I try to talk to people about. It's just, you're like, a whole bunch of things we're going to go into, right? But most people aren't mad at AI. They're mad at capitalism, because that is how we're seeing these huge differences now, is the way that a company can just replace a person with this thing. But we got to remember that it's not AI itself replacing the person. It's the company that doesn't want to value their own workers.
Right. I think that's difficult for people to see through, because especially artists, because I interviewed and polled a large group of people, all artists of various types, musicians, visual artists, gallery owners, performing arts, directors, all different types of genres in terms of visual arts and artistic genres. So is that particular aspect of AI and capitalism, is that something that you have found through your research and the different aspects that you've taught? Tell me about that.
Can you ask that question a different way?
I'm sorry. So through your research, what have you discovered about AI in terms of how artists are affected by AI, and how can artists in particular look at AI as a pro and a con, and do you think it's helpful to them?
So yeah, I think the first
is that a better perspective?
Yeah, way better. Sorry, way more direct. So I'm gonna say so many times. Where do I start with this? The tech world, the way that it works is that you design something, and then if it's copying someone else's idea, the company that hired you to come up with that thing, it's just going to pay the lawyers for later. That's how tech works. You make something and you worry about the lawsuits later, because the thing that you're making is going to make so much money that the lawsuits are just a penny compared to the profits, right? And so the first thing to acknowledge is, yeah, AI was trained on so many people's works, so many people's ideas, everything that humanity has created since the dawn of time that was recorded on a piece of paper and put through a scanner or put through the servers. Like, that was being taken without anybody's knowledge, you know?
Right.
And it's hard because, you know, if we have these huge technological advances, the info has to come from somewhere. And it's particularly hard because in the arts, right? Like, that's something that we really cherish. That's something that everyone is creating from scratch from the beginning.
Right.
And so, yeah, that tech basically took all of these things and just said, you're trained now. I think that's the hardest blow because it was done without anybody's consent. Nobody got any money for it. You know, this thing, talking about capitalism, like, we're upset because this thing that is being trained is giving some sort of financial gain to another person from somebody who created that in the first place or created that influence, right? And so it's pretty angering. And I could imagine for people who are already established, like Wes Anderson, Studio Ghibli, all that jazz, like, their things were really affected because I don't know if you remember last year, but there was that whole moment where everyone was making their own pictures, but in like the style of Studio Ghibli.
Right,
and then the Ghibli himself, or Miyazaki, was like, this is so soulless, you know, and it is, because it's a prompt that does something so instantaneously, and after we get that result of like, oh my God, look at this, it's done. It's forever lost in your photo gallery on your phone or text message thread or whatever. So the start is, yes, it's really heartbreaking when something someone has worked so long to really cultivate and make their own is easily accessible by somebody else within an instant, right? But the thing that I would even say about that is that has already been happening since the dawn of humanity, you know, like a Star Wars movie comes out and then we have a bunch of films that are like in space, you know, like everything now. We've had so much stuff in the past,
right, to
where all of our current entertainment is just recycling through these ideas, but just how somebody else interprets it. However, with AI, it's just the computer is doing something that would take us a lifetime. It can do it within seconds, which I think is a huge thing that really bothers people. But the thing is, it's just doing what we've been doing at a way faster pace. And it's also hard because we're angry at these things, but at the same time, we're living in a world of convenience. And the question is, when you live in a world of convenience, where do you draw the line about what is okay to be convenient and what's not okay to be convenient due to technology?
Right. So I mean, that brings up an interesting point. I'm thinking about, where does that leave trademarking or copywriting or branding? Or you talked about Wes Anderson and I've just recently seen, you can put the Wes filter on your photo.
Yeah.
But if we're thinking about visual arts and the creation of art, film and photography are much younger than applied arts and visual arts, whether it be ceramics or drawing or painting. That in comparison has so much more history and is so much thousands of years as compared to the life of photography and the life of film. So, and several of the artists that commented, one was very much had the same viewpoint as you just presented in terms of
I'm pretty sure I know who you're talking about.
In terms of, if we look at the history of all this creation, we have to understand and put that in perspective. But photographers, for example, feel, it's the art of photography is capturing a moment and being present in that moment. And the
So
artist that I
painting.
interviewed, it was a resounding 100% disagreed with AI, with the exception of you in terms of, but a lot of the artists just said they don't want any part of AI in terms of their art. And the overall opinion was that in terms of the de-evaluation of their art. So when we're thinking about that in terms of not necessarily how AI is applied to artwork, but how artists, is there any aspect of AI that is actually can be useful?
So many.
To artists.
Okay, so just to make sure I'm understanding your question, so you're bringing up people who don't like AI, like they're specifically talking about using AI to make their art, right?
That and how, and then I think going back to how AI is, let's just use photography as a platform. How AI can riddles through photography and creation, and not necessarily from an artist standpoint in terms of the creative process, but just how it's become commercialized, in terms of Capitalism, sorry. Yeah.
Well, no, I mean, that's the key differences is like, are we talking about an artist is going to make art regardless of what is happening, because that is a very internal thing. It doesn't matter that something can make it for you. It's just artists aren't making an art piece for the end result. They're making it for the process of it, for their love for it, their wanting of challenges, right? And so I think what you're asking is, like with photography, and I'll even say this, like when photography first came out, painters thought that was the end of painting, and it did not end painting. It just became its own thing. You have photography and you have painting, two different skill sets, two different ideas. But what I think you're asking is the creation of art, right, is always going to be a thing, and AI can never take away your passion, your drive. But I think like what you're talking about is the commercialism of art, which is different than the creation of art, because if someone's going to make art, they don't have to do it professionally. Someone can do that as a hobby, right? But if you're doing it commercially, that means you have created your style, you've created your market, you have a brand, and that is how you are sharing it. And the thing is, people are still going to take your things. Like when a trend happens, people take that because they want to make money off of it. And that is the thing that we go through. But to get back to your point in not having it be a part of your artistic process, I would have to ask whoever was talking to you about what they specifically meant, right? Because there's creating the prompt, right? cool, I want a picture, this A, B, C, D, awesome, make it. And then it junctures and then you just have a picture. But so what? Anyone can make a picture now. What do you do with that? Where does the story come in? Where does the narrative of that thing come in? And that's what AI will not have an advantage over artists, because artists have a narrative. Artists have the story. When you have a picture, who cares? Who cares that you have a picture? You know, like there's so many talented people that have never been recognized because everyone we know about had good marketers. Like everyone that we know about artistically, anyone who has had a brand or a thing that has come out, like Da Vinci, for instance, everybody that we know about just had a good representation through somebody who wanted to like make them big. Because there's also so many people who did just as well, who had even better capabilities, but because they were artists, they didn't have the skills to make it like, I have to make sure the king knows about this thing. I have to make sure everyone is talking about this, you know? So that's a huge difference. But what you were talking, we got a couple things in here that you're asking, right? So it's like the use of it. I want to also
throw in, so as an artist, you develop your own style as well. And AI, is it possible through AI that it can mimic that style?
Oh, 100%.
I mean, so for example, and I'm going to use you, James, as an example, because your style and your finished product is incredibly recognizable. And it's very whimsical, colorful. There's a lot of movement, but there's also always an underlying statement. And that's what I enjoy about your art. But your own personal style and your own way of creativity is your own human creation.
Well, it's meditative. That's how I don't know what it's going to be until the end of it. You know?
Right, exactly, and that is 99% true for many artists. And I think maybe this is where I was getting at in terms of, you know, speaking about that one artist, that in terms of the devaluation of art, in terms of it's an absolute, the desire of an artist is to evoke a human emotion and a connection with their work. How is that possible when AI is in the recipe?
Well, talking about narrative, right? If AI, well, I guess a question that I would have to answer to you is, if you saw a photo that gave you an emotional response, would it matter to you who made it?
I guess, you know, right off the bat, no. It's something that, you know, it's an image that registers with me. But if I knew the artist or knew the person that took that photo, that would create an even deeper.
It would add
and enhance my reaction, enhance my connection to the photo. The same goes for a painting. The same goes for any type of artwork that I have a connection with. That's consumerism.
To a certain, it's consumerism, but it's like what means something to you, right? Because the consumerism part comes into play where it's like, oh, I want to support this more, right?
Right. However, so if it's the person that you like, I know this person, I care about this person, they mean something to me, so I want to support them.
Sick. So the human touch, right? That's like if you knew a person made it. However, if you were to see something made by AI and then you found out it's AI, does that mean your experience is any less?
That lessens it. For me, it lessens it.
It lessens the emotional feeling that you had?
Correct. It does.
Afterwards, right?
But afterwards, because I don't know. So this is almost like a human experiment. I don't know how it was created.
Well,
yes, it's still something that, I like that picture, but it has less meaning for me.
That's as simple as I'm talking. I'm not talking about the deep depth of it. It's you look at something, you have a change in your life, and then you move on, right? Like, does the fact that something was made by AI lessen that inspiration or that like feeling of joy that you felt
Right.
in that moment?
So then we're just going to flow right into this in terms of how does this affect patronage? In terms of, in terms of artist patrons and the market for their artwork and how to help it remain human.
Well, that's the thing with AI being where it's at, right? Is I think the thing that's the most important than ever right now is what do we appreciate from human creation? That's what AI is going to bring out the most. And it's such a wild west right now, and it's still so new. Like, we have not had time to really process it. We've just, like anything, you have the people who love it, you have the people who hate it, and then you have the people who don't even want to talk about it because they're just like, whatever, But I think the thing that AI is really going to bring is how we value human work, because what we were talking about with, having a human emotion, if we're talking about protecting art, what is it that we're actually protecting? Because are we protecting
an original idea?
An original idea, which doesn't exist because everything has already been made, right?
Everything's based on everything.
Yeah, everything's based on everything. So that's what AI is doing, is it's just really propelling that forward. But when you have this opportunity to have infinity right in front of you, right? Then what is worth making from infinity? What is the thing that you have so many answers? Like right now, answers are cheap, right? Answers like don't even matter because anyone can get it. Right. But what matters is, what do you do now that we have this thing that has infinite knowledge, and it's not even always right? But it's like, to protect patronage, right? We're talking about what makes art human, the creation of it, and also the story that comes along with it, right, and what we actually value in art, because that's the conversation. The conversation I'm hearing the most is it trained on all of our art, and now it's cheap and like anyone can do it. And it's like, well, anyone could do it in the first place. Like Canva came out and people were pissed. Photoshop came out and people are pissed.
Everybody uses it.
You see artists use projectors and people are pissed. Like, I think the thing to really think about is, what are we the most angry at? Because I think it's always going to go back to capitalism, because the actual art itself is always something that has a moment to move us, but it's what is happening with the story of how art and like making a living for artists is, right?
Exactly.
And so I think corporations are always going to be corporate. They're going to cut corners. Yeah, they are going to do the cheapest amount of job. They're going to hire somebody's kid in high school who they said, oh, my kid can do that, But I think for patronage and really valuing the arts, it takes everybody. And that is saying, this is made by a person and I saw the process. And even then, that's still going to be such a small amount of people who care about that, because I don't know if you remember when you were a kid, but when you went into an art museum, did you care who made the photo that you really liked?
No. But as you get older, you start to appreciate, and learn more about maybe the creative process of how to do a darkroom photo, or how much schooling an individual has had, and who they've studied with, and who
the narrative,
and who gave them a chance, in terms of the up and coming artists, their story.
Yeah.
And that's endearing to people in terms of gain an understanding about the world of art for some people. And I think, it's generational. I totally agree. And I always say this, I'm a Gen X, and I don't, I think we were the first generation of the cell phone and the last generation of the wall phone, so it's like the best of both worlds. Yeah, the landline. It's like, when was the last time I picked up the phone off the wall? It's like you just don't do that anymore. And I can't choose my color in avocado mustard green or bone. So it's a really interesting dichotomy that I personally feel, because I've known it. But then I also know, somebody in my daughter's generation who is 21, she's, she's not a millennial. She's the next one, I guess. Who from birth, she had technology.
Tablets, yeah.
And
Screens.
and it's so interesting because some of the people that I talk to are younger. They're of her like in their 20s. And then there are also artists that are in their 60s and 70s, 50s, they're older. And they are of this mindset that, they're completely against AI generated art, and AI inversion in their art process making.
Yeah.
Because for them it devalues their art. That's their feeling.
It devalues their own art.
Their own art.
That's sad.
So that's, and I'm like, so how much of that can we equate to, personal opinion or their ability to market their artwork? It's like, so that's kind of a loaded question. And I know in terms of an artist's ability and success in marketing their artwork. That's, and
marketing, capitalism, making a living.
That's the buzzword for today is capitalism.
Yeah.
So what are the things that AI can offer to an artist that can help them in terms of, and can propel them in terms of, I appreciate your notes as well.
Yeah, I wanted to be ready.
Okay, you are ready. So that's what I'm interested in, because if artists are against the intrusion of AI in their art process, in their art of making, in their creative process, in all of these things. And then I think about, how about artists that use, I'm thinking of sculptors, for example, like
references.
if they're creating work online, if they're doing these, these drafts and these kind of these drawings, these pre-made drawings to put their ideas on paper, and then they're create a three-dimensional thing from that. What are they doing? How are they? Is AI part of that equation?
Yeah.
Is it just in terms of using software? Is it, where does it fall? So that's my overall question is what.
You've got about 3 questions in that. So
yeah, I know.
So let's start off with the first thing. So ways that artists and anyone can utilize AI is pretty brilliant. The way that, I've loved AI, ever since I saw sci-fi back when I was a kid, and there were robots and there was these things to help you out. I've been so excited. So when this happened, I was like, this is everything I've wanted since I was a kid, right? Which blows my mind because there's so many people who were also I thought in the same boat of oh, this is the future, but then the future happens and you're like, oh, I actually don't want this, right?
Right, exactly.
So the first way that I like to introduce people to think about AI is imagine having the most personal assistant that is just for you, that you will ever have. And that's training based off of how you talk to it. Over time, it starts to learn your things. Granted, it's really only learning about you through whatever you give to it. So the more honest, the more vulnerable, the more authentic you are, the more it learns about you and can help you with the things that you need help with. So when I first got into AI, I was slightly new to business, and I hate business so much because it's such a different hat, and it's really hard because when you're an artist, you care about your work, right?
As a creative versus having a business.
But when you put on the business hat, you have to be so black and white about how you are dealing with things for business, because art, when you make something, you have to remember that when you're selling something to somebody, you're looking for people who have the same taste as you, which for the most part, you're going to be a lot of people who don't have the same taste. So how does it feel when you're like, oh, I made this, and someone looks at it for a second and then they're showing you all the things that they like, right? Being a professional artist is just learning how to turn off, I don't want to say the care, but to remember human nature, because just because you made something, who gives a fuck? Just because you made something that you care about, who cares? What matters is the story that you give your art, right?
Exactly.
And so getting into business, the first thing that I needed to know was, cool, I'm an artist. What is the type of infrastructure that I need to have as an artist? And I got this like immediate list, right? Of just, like you need to have a website, you need to have a portfolio, you have to have 3 different bios, one for a gallery, one for commissions, one for grant writing. Oh, cool. What's a grant? Like immediately I learned how to write grants because I got a format, and I could have had AI just write it for me. But my favorite thing about AI is it's done all of the research to know what formats are for these different industries. So if I need to write a grant for an art project, all I have to do is like, here's what I'm working on. Here's what these people are looking for. Can you give me an example of what that would look like? And I can take that whole format that's already written and see, okay, this is how it starts. This is kind of like the beef of it. This is how it ends. This is how I need to remember. Like it gives me a map of how I need to write it for myself, because I don't specialize in writing grants, and I don't have money to pay somebody else to do it for me and then have to have them revise it.
That's why I'm writing a grant,
Yeah. Like it's like the thing for artists to remember, and we're going to get deeper into this, is that AI is like having a full team for one person who is on your side. And it's just up to you to learn how to think bigger and to be more refined. Like it's a really good tool for brainstorming. Hey, I'm doing this type of project. I need help with these types of things. But also, what are things I haven't listed that maybe I need to? Like it gives you such a groundwork for the things that maybe normally you wouldn't think about. And it's giving you a tool that maybe you didn't really have the resources to have earlier. Not everybody has a mentor. Not everyone has someone who can write grants for them. Not everybody knows how to write a paragraph right. It's like, it's such a good groundwork to not, like, I don't think of it as, I know there's people, this bums me out about AI, is that someone will just type something in, copy and paste it, and done. And that's such a bummer, because right now, especially, like that stuff is not helpful. You're going to have mistakes, but the fact you didn't even read it is crazy to me, because I want to read everything that I'm submitting so I can talk about it. So it gives me a groundwork for brainstorming, how to put things in, what to think about, what to consider that I haven't considered before. What is the standard for this industry? What do I need to have ready for these things? It helps me with role playing. Like if I have to pretend I'm doing an interview with somebody, I can just talk and like hear maybe some questions that I wouldn't think about normally, but it just gets me in the practice of doing the thing that I want to do so I can focus on the creativity way more. And that's the one thing I think about AI is it helps you not have to put the hours and hours and hours into the tedious things that normally just takes away from the actual making itself. And at the end of the day, like I want to make as much as I possibly can, and I want to let the boring work. It's still going to be boring because I'm still doing it, but I'm not guessing and like going through pages and pages of all these things and feeling insecure about it. I have an immediate format. I write it myself and then I submit it. And because it's still written by me, because I know how to write,
Exactly.
So
that's the thing. And in terms of as a tool.
Yeah, it's a tool. So I have the things that I'm good at, and I always do those things. And even AI, hey, can you critique this thing that I'm about to submit? What do I need to add to it? Like it's the best tool ever for just you being a one-person team when there's so many more people, and hopefully, you can get more people involved, because that's the goal. It's like you get a team, I'm looking for a manager right now because AI is helpful for giving me a roadmap, but like the closest thing I can get from AI for an actual manager is like setting up my own alarm system with something. So I just get the little reminders, but I still need a physical person to say, hey, think about these things. This is what my life was like. You're trying to kind of do something similar. So there's still so many human things. I'm just going to go through this list that I have, but I think AI is really helpful for brainstorming, for drafting things, getting the basic idea out, for organizing your thoughts in a way that maybe you hadn't thought of. For learning, hey, there's this idea that I want to know more about. Can we work on this together? Still check your sources, because just like stuff you see on the internet, not all that's real. So why would AI all be real when it's still learning from the same thing that you critiqued before it was even existed? It's good for role playing. It's good for planning. It's good for summarizing things. And we have so much information lately where it's like, I'm not going to read 43 pages.
Exactly.
Can you summarize this in 7 or 8 paragraphs, so I get what it seems like I need to understand. It's really cool for testing ideas out that maybe you just don't like. Hey, I want to put my art in these 4 different places. Can you give me a schedule this week for how to hit them up, how to like present myself, just how to be ready for it, and then how to check in weekly. And even last, just like getting unstuck. That's the thing I think AI is the most helpful for, is I'm stuck and I just need to try something. Because if there's one thing that I do is I get in my head, and getting out is extremely difficult when I just feel alone in that. But when I just need help getting out, I get an idea from AI of try this. And it's like, okay, I at least have something that I can do instead of just being stuck inside of my own brain and not want to go out or do anything because I'm just so frustrated. But those are the tools that I would say. Organizing, scheduling are my most important, because I'll tell you about my system later, but I have a really cool system to really honor my time, and it's been able to like work with my calendar, with my Notion that I've created, my digital organizer, and yeah, I'm thriving more than I feel like I ever could have, because I have these tools. And there's still so much more to go, because now the thing is now that we have AI, we have instant answers. Answers are cheap, right? Mm-hmm. The thing that matters is what are the efforts now that you put behind having infinite knowledge available to you now? Because nothing matters until you do something about it, you know?
Exactly. Wow. Well, I mean, that's really talking about the business of art. I mean, that's always, I think, intimidating to artists in terms of taking it to the next level. So I would like to take a quick break so we can honor our sponsors who are, we're really grateful for having wonderful sponsorship for our podcasters. But when we come back, we'll have more with James Beck.
Homeownership is possible with a trusted partner.
It brings us a lot of joy to be able to say that this house is our own and that we've poured our hearts into making it our own.
Alyssa and Ryan are among the more than 155,000 people Chaffa has helped become homeowners since 1974. It starts with homebuyer education and connecting you with a statewide network of participating lenders. Get started at chfainfo.com/yourhome. Chaffa is an equal housing lender.
And we are back talking about AI and artists. And James Beck is here, multimedia artist. And we've been talking about the harnessing, how artists can harness AI. And I think, and definitely for full-time artists, but what has been your experience helping artists take that step into AI? And what have you found are the roadblocks? Is it intimidation? Is it, they don't know where to start because they feel like that the playing field is just so enormous. I really feel like the things that you've covered would truly be the archetype for creating like artists taking it to the next level in terms of understanding how to market themselves, how to make themselves be more visible, and creating their brand, in terms of, and that's kind of maybe a broad term, but really getting noticed, getting their art into the market, getting it seen by more people, and giving them the tools to propel themselves.
Gotcha.
So what has your experience been with artists that have come to you that you help them with these ideas that you just outlined? You've obviously experienced success for yourself in terms of, and you are definitely a person that, I'm experiencing success. I want to share this with anyone that wants to understand my process and help them be successful as well. So what has your experience been with that?
So one thing, like before I even start this, the one thing that I feel like I need to really add to it too is, being an artist, it's something I've had my whole life, right? Is always making something. I'm always drawing something. Like it's something I always have to get it out of me. There's just something that I have to keep doing. And that is the thing that has just been my grounding for drawing, for painting, is just, I always have to do it because it's inside of me. And it's something that ever since I was a kid, I've just had to do.
Right.
Like it's been the thing that speaks to me.
And that is truly the definition of an artist or creative, is that something that's burning inside of them that they have to present or they have to take from a concept in their mind or something and make it real.
Or even just draw in circles until something happens, you know. But the reason I bring that up is because artists specifically, I think there are artists who this is all they know, right? This is all they know is creating something, and it always turns up in something else, whether it's like some sort of creative thing. It's just always inside of them, and they just do because they're curious, they want to experiment. But then there's people who really romanticize artists, and they're only thinking of the end product, right? And so I want to say that because those are the different people that I have talked to about AI. Is there's the artists who this is their everything, and then there's the artists who just kind of do this sometimes. Right. Like two completely different people. And I want to say that because it's the artists who are doing this as a living, who are open to anything, who know we live in a world of change all the time, and AI is not going anywhere. It's the most funded thing since the railroad system happened. And remember when the railroad was being made, no one cared. They still did it. So it's here. And so to get started for artists, like I said, you either meet someone who's really interested and curious and will open their head and I can talk to them about how to utilize it. And then there's those who have so much pride in their own work that they, are uninterested. And I'll still tell them here's how you can do it. And they're off completely. And the people who are off, I get it. It's a thing and it can be nervous and it can be scary. But also, things that are scary to me are the first things I want to wonder, why am I scared about it? It's not everyone's thought. Right. But the artists who approach me hey, you use this, how can I use it? I'm just hey, all the stuff you don't want to do? Here's a way to here's a way to take out the guesswork. Right. If we live in a world where education and knowledge is the key for you basically being your own, not an anarchist, what's the word? Alchemist, turning shit into gold. Basically, it's if we have knowledge available, why would we be pushing it away while still saying that's the thing that we want, right? Right. So, hey, Megan Wilbar, for instance, right? She was how do you use it? And I was let me show you. And it was teaching her, first of all, how to prompt. That's the thing I think most people struggle with is AI gives you exactly what you were asking for, right? So if you're not asking the right questions, you're going to get things back and be oh, this is stupid. But what that has taught me is maybe I'm not asking the right question. Maybe I need to figure out how to ask this differently, or maybe the thing I'm looking for has nothing to do with this. So it's helped me really refine my thinking about the things that I want. So first of all is hey, do you want... Let's say you do a specific type of art, right? And cool, what are the industries that support this? And what are the industries that maybe support it in the peripheral, but you might be interested in it? Cool, here's a whole list of things that you can consider. And Pueblo is a little hard because we don't really have an art industry here. We don't have corporations that are looking for people. Right. The most money I get in Pueblo is from grants. And even commissions is a little hard because the work that I do isn't everybody's cup of tea here, but I get more commissions outside of Pueblo than I do in Pueblo. So grants are how I make the most money and commissions are how I make the most money. But I've talked to AI about that and it's cool, focus on this then, because being a business person, it's helpful to know your market instead of trying to invent something that you don't even know how to invent. So, and
beating yourself up every time. Every time you get let down or you were hoping for it. But also, I think the main idea behind that is that
I want to be a living, working artist.
Right.
At the end of the day, that's all that I care about.
And you are in control of this ride. You are telling AI how you want to do it, what you want to do. You are in control. You're not submitting to AI in any way. You are the one that's feeding it the questions. You are the one that's steering it in the direction that you want to go. So I think, and that goes back to the original quote that you mentioned, is that, this is controlled by a person.
Yeah.
And it's not, people think that's, it's the machine age, it's, like there's this, this one, like non-human thing that's controlling all of these ideas that are coming out, and it's not, but it's like all of the ideas that came from this thing were created by humans. It's kind of this like full circle thing. So in terms of, it's just interesting to think about, where this is going and what are the types of things that, are the things that can help artists reach their full potential when using AI?
I think for
you've outlined a lot of them.
I think first it really just matters, like, what is your goal with art? Like, there's stay-at-home artists who just make art and that's all they care about. They're just doing something like as a hobby. There's artists who want to do it professionally, and then if you want to be a professional artist, there's 100 different directions you can go. Art's not just one thing, it's so many different avenues, and you're always experimenting, because as an artist, your job is to create. It's to problem solve. That's how I think of it. An artist is someone who just creates something,
that's an interesting perspective.
How to create it. So you with this podcast, like a construction worker, like everybody is an artist. If you're creating something, you are an artist, but we've refined that down to just painting and fine art. And that's unfair, because art is so much more than that, which is why, like when you brought up that person who they think that when they see AI art, it devalues their own art. How much did they believe in themselves in the first place to let something else tell them that it was worthless? Like, and that just sounds like insecurity to me. And being an artist, you have to believe in yourself if you're going to make it in this, because the second you don't, this is hard. It is a hard life.
Do you think that's a lot? Do you think that is something that a lot of artists wrestle with?
Everyone's insecure. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, in terms of taking that next step.
Your entire job is to somebody like this thing that I made. And to really keep the human part of that, like, you got to figure out a skill that you can just do and have kind of be black and white. But then there's people who can completely put their all in, but they found the market who wants to support the things that they care about. My best work is when people say, hey, here's something that I want, but do your version of it. Like, that's how I make the best murals.
That's like a dream.
That's how I've made the best things, because it's cool. You're giving me a moment to like make my thing.
Full creative license. Yeah.
And I've had times where, like, when I have clients who get like really nitpicky and they're just like, I want this, no, change this. Like, those are the murals that are the worst, because it's not the fact that you wanted me as an artist. It's the fact that you just needed someone to paint a wall for you. And I just unfortunately don't work. Like, that's the kind of artist I cannot be. Is I can refine it, but the more I refine it and the more you don't like it, it's like, why did you hire me?
Right. It's cookie cutter. You don't want to be something that fits into a category or fits into a particular, square peg in the square hole type thing.
Yeah, like,
and,
hey,
they're hiring you for your creativity and your individuality and your uniqueness in creative process.
But there's also people who just don't know art. So in their head, they're just like, I love everything you do. Can you make this thing that you've never made before? Like, that makes me insecure. It's like, why are we doing this? Like, go hire this person who does realism. Where in my portfolio did that show, like, I can draw your dog like that? Like, I just did line work. That's what I specialize. What did you expect? But insecurity, that's a huge part of an artist's life, is we're learning how to be professional versions of ourselves, which means at the end of the day, we have to back ourselves up. We have to trust what we believe in. We have to trust the things that we're working towards, because that is going to be our direction. And the second we don't have that, it tends to be the second that we give up, because we don't feel confident in ourselves. We don't believe we can. And that, even as someone who is confident in themselves, they're going to hit those marks, but you just still have to keep believing, because the only person who's ever going to give you assurance is going to be you. Because when you hear it from other people, you don't care. You're like, oh, gross. That person thinks I'm good. Ew. But when you say it to yourself and you mean it, it's so different. So
self-affirmation is the best form of love that you can give yourself.
And it's not even self-affirmation. It's actually believing you. It's believing yourself when you say those things. Because I've done self-affirmations. I'm like, I hate this. But then there's times where I'm like, you know what? I really believe this and I'm going to fucking own this.
Yeah.
But yeah, your question was for people who don't like, who think it's like devaluing it, how to move forward in it. I think that's what the question was.
It was, yes.
Yeah, this is a tool. This is something that's here. When the internet came, we know this from our parents or from older people who never got to learn how to use it and just complained about it. And this is just the next level. This is what Google was to our parents. Like, AI is like an opportunity to be like, yeah, this is scary, but you better learn how to use it, because you know who's going to use it? People who are taking advantage of you. Like if there is a group of people who just hate AI and they don't want to learn how to use it because it's just not human, the thing is, the people who do learn how to use it, you're never going to understand what they're doing. It's like when someone's trying to take advantage of you and you kind of like don't have the language, or you're not used to the things or knowing the world that we live in. Like when a business person, someone comes knocking at your door to sell you something, it's like, you know, they're trying to sell you something. And the same thing with AI is like when you're getting like AI type of things, you have to know when something sounds off. You have to know when somebody is trying to manipulate you, and that's hard. But like, it's just right now, it's authentication is the next form of survival, because we have all these things that aren't even real anymore.
Exactly.
And there's no black and white answer to that either, because we're going to be wrong, we're going to be right, and there's no always wrong or right. It's just doing our best and changing our mind and adapting as we can. But it's hard because, yeah, we're getting to an age where so many things are fake that how do we discern what is real and what isn't?
That's kind of what I was going, is like in terms of recognizing it.
Yeah. So you have to learn, like, it's crazy. When AI videos first came out, I loved it. I was like, look at all these like dumb things like that you can make happen. And then now actually
like Bigfoot walking through somebody's backyard.
Yeah. Or like just like a weird cat turning into a person, and then they're like vomiting.
Shapeshifters.
They're vomiting eggs and mac and cheese, and then it turns into like a shark, and now you're in the ocean. Like, I love that stuff. But what I don't love, for instance, and actually this is what turned me off from, I'm staying away from the news, because even that is like a form of propaganda right now with AI. But like I saw some like CV footage of like some representatives like going to a hotel together, and I was like, damn, like this is where it hits now, is like,
oh wow,
I can imagine all the people on like a certain side looking at this and being like, I told you so.
They believe that, or I knew that was true.
Or remember, they had an emotional response to it.
Yes.
And that can drive people to action, right? And so it's hard, because the thing that I feel like as a species are angry at AI because it's the people who are using it for their advantage are really destructive and manipulative. Mm-hmm. So we have to learn how to discern that. And if we don't, we're kind of our own to blame. Here's this technology that came out. Certain group learned how to use it. Certain people resented it, but the people who resented it were way more, like, what's it called when you're more suggestible?
They are trying to sway.
Sway, yeah. You're more vulnerable to being swayed because of something you didn't take the time to understand. And then you're just like, well, it shouldn't be like that. It doesn't matter what it shouldn't be like. We have to adapt to the world. We have to learn how to use these tools responsibly. We have to learn how to call out when a tool is being used irresponsibly, because it comes back to the thing that we're living in is a form of capitalism, and it's people just having a tool now that can really press that forward. So acknowledge it and learn about it, because it's not going anywhere. And the more that you want to stay away from it, let's say, the hallucinations, for instance, like there's been fake knowledge on the internet forever. And hopefully when people have seen that, they've been able to discern that. Instagram videos has fake stuff. So it's like AI is just another form of, hey, make sure that the stuff that you get, you're checking on, because that's still your responsibility. Because now we get to have fun.
Informed.
We get to be fun with information. Like you get to, I don't know if when I first got into AI, it's because I was wanting to learn about Nikola Tesla and having like a rhetorical conversation about him thinking planets could talk. And I was like, ooh, if planets could talk, what would that mean? What would they be asking for? And then how would a planet receive that thing? But also more importantly, what would be listening? So like, it was really fun to like just have these moments, because like I'm a curious person and I just want to have fun with things. But aside, there's really fun ways to use it and there's really dangerous ways to use it. And it's our responsibility to be aware of what our world contains in it and to act accordingly. Because if we just push it off and hope it's going to disappear, I think we're smarter than that, because we've seen what happens before.
Right.
Ignorance is not bliss. It's a choice, and being aware of things is painful. But life is not supposed to be easy, and it is your responsibility to know that these things exist and hopefully make them work to your benefit. Especially, it's a free tool. It is a free tool.
That's the other thing, is it's completely free.
And yeah, if you don't want to share certain things, don't. But learn about it, because someone else will, and someone else will use you, and you won't know because you were too stubborn to want to learn about something that you were just mad at because you didn't understand it.
This has been an incredible, informative, enlightening program. And I just want to thank you so much for speaking so eloquently about your experiences with AI and other artists' experience, and how you've helped other artists understand AI and use it for their advantage. My guest has been James Beck today, Southern Colorado artist, film producer, director, writer. And I want to thank you so much for joining me in the podcast program today.
Thanks for having me.
And this has been State of Art. Thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah.
You've been listening to State of Art, a production of the Voices of Pueblo podcast, presented by the Pueblo Star-Journal. This episode, a conversation with artist creative producer James Beck, was produced and narrated by Bree Pappan. The Pueblo Star-Journal thanks Colorado Housing and Finance Authority for their support of this podcast. To learn more and to support nonprofit local news in Pueblo, Colorado, visit pueblostarjournal.org. Thank you for listening.